Alrighty, welcome back to the third episode of the Heating Up podcast. I'm Sean with Dan, and I feel like before we get this introduction started, we should explain how I'm I'm in this room after you've been in this room for two podcasts in a row because this is my
It
room.
gets a little bit confusing. Yeah.
And
So, the first two podcasts, the live stream really wasn't working. If we weren't together, so we went in two separate rooms of his house. I'm back in my house now. It sounds confusing. I wish I had time to explain it to you. You could probably throw shit at me about how I don't know anything about technical.
houses.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, but we're doing this now. This is gonna be get used to it. All right, that's all I gotta say.
Yeah, so this is my rightful room.
It's a nice room.
It's my
I have
own.
to say. It's my own.
All right. So, obviously we haven't done like a podcast in a week, so the draft we'll just kind of bring it up because it's not going to be that redundant because we haven't talked about it at all yet.
Yeah.
So we'll bring that up because a big portion of this podcast is just the NBA roster moves and the free agency and specifically the two trades that went down. Chris Paul for
Patrick Beverly,
all those players. Patrick Beverly, Lou Will, Decker, Harrell, like all the guys that the Rockets displaced.
Wait,
And then
Harrell too?
The Rockets lost a bunch. The Rockets lost a bunch of players, but they didn't all go to the Clippers. Like other parts of it were just roster moves to free up cap for Paul. And so, but they're technically losses by acquiring Chris Paul.
Yeah, of course.
So, and then obviously the Paul George trade that went down late last night. So, talk about that because that's obviously a big deal. Even though the Celtics kind of get screwed. So I think we should probably just talk about the Paul George trade first because it's the most recent.
Yeah, because the Celtics got their. I don't know. They got.
So no, yeah. Because my point on it is people are attacking Ainge and like Danny Ainge has let a lot of trades slip through the cracks before. So it's not like we should make an exception for this one trade. But personally, if I was the Indiana Pacers, the package that they offered him in comparison to what they're getting back from the Thunder is an astronomical difference. If the Pacers are getting rid of Paul George, they're obviously not going to win a lot of games this season. So getting 3 first-round picks from the Celtics and then like Jay Crowder is a pretty good deal because that allows you to build around, I guess, Miles Turner would be like their new franchise guy. I guess
that's upsetting
now
for
it's
anybody
Turner.
who lives in Indiana.
Now it's Turner and Oladipo, which I guess isn't awful. And then Stone showed signs of being like really good, so that has potential to work out. But I just think that if the Pacers want to like do a roster overhaul, then they shouldn't turn down the Celtics offer like 3 first-round picks. Like I would imagine one of them was either the Brooklyn pick next year or the Lakers pick, and then the following year probably the Grizzlies pick, and then maybe the Clip pick. That would be my guess. That would be package. Or maybe this year's. I don't know. I think it was the draft night offer, so it could have been this year's pick as well. So go ahead.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on pretty much all of this. Danny has just really let a lot of trades slip through the cracks. And this is one I've been an advocate for since day one. Paul George seemed like he was going to go to the Lakers and was like set in stone. I still wanted him on the Celtics, and then
I just didn't want them to give up that much.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, see, I didn't want him to give up that much.
It's a rental. Like he's already announced he's going to the Lakers.
Yeah, it's a 1-year deal. But I think the package that they offer the Pacers is exactly what they needed. If they want to rebuild, they need draft picks. The Celtics have draft picks, but now the Celtics are kind of stuck in a position where, well, if we don't get Hayward, then we just have to kind of sit on these assets, these prospects, and see where it goes from here. But I don't know. I hope if we can get Hayward, and I say we because we're Celtics fans, but things could get a little bit brighter. But as far as trading deadline is gone and any of the other free agent moves that the Celtics have made, there have been literally zero. They drafted the guy that nobody thought they would draft for reasons that they didn't necessarily.
Looks good so far, though. I'll give him that. He looks good so far.
No, you see that? I think it was on Bleacher Report, the video of
that
him.
clip where he hit like 10 threes in a row. Yeah.
He's just lighting up from downtown, from the parking lot.
Yeah, I agree. So, what are your thoughts on how this trade benefits or doesn't benefit not the Rockets, the Thunder?
It's tough to say. I mean, it's kind of like it's almost like getting like a junior KD back to the Thunder, and you give up Oladipo, who I think was the second best player on that team.
He has to be.
Yeah, exactly.
And then
And then
Sabonis showed signs of actually being like decent at times.
yeah, he was good.
He's
He
just
came to
decent.
the Rockets, especially in the regular season, not too much in the playoffs. I think Sam Adams or Steven Adams. I said Sam Adams. That's
Steven
beer.
Adams, yeah. Sam Adams,
Steven
good
Adams.
beer.
Yeah, Steven Adams. He's going to be a stalemate down low. You kind of need him, and you kind of right now have the 1-3-5 that you really need. The two, like you have two guards. You have one unbelievable guard, one unbelievable forward, and then a center that's going to get you what you need. But
He's
I
fine,
think,
yeah.
their bench isn't too deep. I think they could make a run for the playoffs. I don't know if Paul George
They
makes
should
them
make
a
another
legitimate.
signing. They need
Yeah,
bench depth. The
yeah.
thing
You
is,
gotta
what I
make
like about this trade for the Thunder is that is Russell Westbrook is 29 years old right now. So after losing Kevin Durant, at this point you're like just wasting Russell Westbrook's prime if you're just kind of like waiting for the Warriors run to pass as Western Conference front runners. So you have to go out there and do something. Like you can't just sit on what Russell Westbrook has and just, waste his prime away. Like so you have to do something like that. So even though they may only have Paul George for 1 year, maybe this is the sign that they'll try and put together a nice solid team that can just give the Warriors a run for their money for one good year, and then try again next year, or maybe try and if things go well, maybe you can convince Paul George. Very unlikely, but that's a possibility. I'm sure that's in the back of their mind.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Paul George kind of made it vocal that he wanted to go to LA, and I believe did he only get signed for a 1 year deal to Oklahoma City, or is it deal pending?
No, he's just playing out the rest of his contract. It's just going to be in the Thunder instead of the Pacers. So it's only
Yeah,
1 year left.
yeah. I mean, if things go really well, like if the Thunder project a lot of hope, I feel like he might not go to the Lakers unless the
Well, that was the
Lakers.
thing about the Celtics too. Like if he
Yeah,
came here and
but
he won
but
and he felt like what it was like to win.
but I think Paul George kind of like I think the Pacers and right now, if for those of you who might not know, Boston's kind of getting a bad rep as a city, involving a bunch of race stuff that nobody in New
No,
England
we
really
only
agrees
we
with.
only sign white players.
Yeah, which is a bunch of BS. But it not so much that, but like I think that kind of played a part into it, kind of not wanting to come to Boston because of the city and all the controversy that surrounds it. I think if we got Hayward to sign maybe yesterday, he would have been all in on the Celtics because he's obviously playing the rest of his contract to try to win. I think he sees the best opportunity to kind of complement a superstar by going to the Thunder. That was a rogue, and when I say rogue, I mean rogue trade. I didn't know. I don't think anybody really saw that coming. Nobody projected Paul George. I don't think he was even in the Thunder were in the conversation to get him. But I think it might. I think it's going to work out for the Thunder. They're going to. I don't know if they're a legitimate championship contender yet, but
But they're better.
yeah, they are better. It does make the team better.
The only thing that I would say with that is Paul George doesn't really have a choice where he goes. The Pacers choose where he goes. You know what I mean? Like Boston having
Yeah,
a
because
bad
he is under
rap
their
doesn't
contract. Yep.
that doesn't affect Paul. Like it affects Paul George, but he doesn't really control that. Like in free agency, yes, but and then in terms of
Yeah.
signing an extension, absolutely, but not in terms of just the trade to the to like whomever you get traded. The other trade that I actually completely forgot about was D'Angelo Russell to the Brooklyn Nets. Like when I was talking about big trades that happened so far.
Yep.
So that trade was actually super good for the Lakers because while I do think D'Angelo Russell will be a really, really good player, next year they're going to need to. Next year, I think it's pretty much. I don't know if you would agree, but I'd say it's pretty much a guarantee that they get Paul George or LeBron with the potential of both.
The Lakers?
Yes, next year.
You think that's a 100% lock?
No, I think it's a lock. They get one of them. The potential to get two of them is there. I think they get one of them.
You think either Paul George or LeBron James is 100% a lock to go to the Lakers?
Yes, next year.
I think
Yes.
you're out of your goddamn mind. I think you're out of your mind to say that.
What would you say Paul George's chances are to go to the Lakers then?
I'd say they're high, and I'd say LeBron's maybe mid a little bit if he doesn't win a championship. But I wouldn't
Well, they
say
want to trade
now.
Kyrie Irving.
I
Like
think
they're
that's
they're like this
absurdly
close to
early.
trading Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's absurdly early to say anything because they haven't traded Kyrie Irving. If they did, and they go back to, I don't know what they're gonna do. I don't know what their isn't Chauncey Billups going to be their GM or something?
Possibly, yeah, he's in consideration for it.
I think he's like the only one in consideration, to be honest, because nobody stepped up and said they're going to take the job. And I think right
Yeah,
now Chauncey Billups is doing the GM job without being in the GM, so he can still recruit free agents to the Cavs. Like, hey, come join the Cavs when I'm like here. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
go
I
from
think the
there.
Cavs are on the verge of blowing up.
They could be. I'd give it one more year before everything blows
Yeah,
up, because
I
then
agree. So
LeBron could be gone, Paul George could be gone.
here's the thing, though. Paul George is so vocal about wanting to go to Los Angeles. Like nothing else even appears to be on his radar besides the Lakers. And last night he posted a picture on Instagram after he got traded. It's a picture of him in Pacers uniforms. Okay, just doing a bunch of things as an Indiana Pacer. The location is Los Angeles, California. He got traded to Oklahoma City. The
Yeah,
dude
I didn't see
loves
that.
LA. The dude
Yeah, I did
loves
see that.
LA.
He does. He does. But who doesn't love LA? I'll tell you who. Republicans. Next.
Matt
We're
Kemp.
talking about.
Matt Kemp does
Yeah.
not love LA.
No, he went straight up to San Diego. He said that. So,
Um, um, so I would say one of them's kind of a lock to go to Los Angeles, even if they're not. That year's gonna have to be the year that they take the step forward
mhm, I agree.
in terms of moving from a developmental stage to a, you know, trying to get a playoff spot stage. And with that being said, the contract that they gave Timothy Mozgov is, horrendous. So Brooklyn doesn't really attract free agents right now, obviously. So they can afford to have Mozgov's contract on the books for a little while. And then they get D'Angelo Russell, who I think will, become a very, very good point guard. I don't know if he'll stay in Brooklyn when his contract's up, but I think while he's in Brooklyn, we're going to see him take a step forward. And I wouldn't be surprised if Russell's like top 10 in scoring next, just because he's going to get so many looks in Brooklyn. Like he's going to take probably the majority of the shots. So I actually think that was a very good trade for the Lakers because Brook Lopez is just a rental. Like they don't need to bring him back. He's only on a 1 year. They just pay him one time.
Yeah, but I kind of disagree with the top 10 scorer for D'Angelo Russell. I mean, at the Lakers, they did have a couple more guys that could put up the basketball, but I don't think he would jump that much from going from a team like the Lakers last year to a team like the Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah, but there's just nobody on the Brooklyn Nets that's going to take shots from him. Like his first year in the league, D'Angelo Russell was playing with Kobe, just trying to get as many
Yeah.
shots as he possibly could in his final year. And then last year, he got hurt a little bit. Then they were playing like Clarkson, Ingram, Randall. They had some talent at least. Like Brooklyn doesn't have anything.
That's true.
They really don't have. They really don't have shit. Like Brooklyn just. I guess their second option would be like Rondé Hollis Jefferson, and I wouldn't really consider him a serious scoring threat.
I wouldn't even
So
consider him top 100 in the NBA. But that's just me. Anyway, I think D'Angelo Russell will be good. I don't think it's going to be a jump like Russell Westbrook had when KD left. I think it'll be more like I don't even know if I could say anything about him.
Westbrook was in his prime too. Like Russell's still growing. Like he can.
True.
Like he's still young. Like he was a
Yeah.
one and done at Ohio State, so he's got time. He's like 21, 22.
If he's 21, 22, that's absurd. But so would need to stay somewhere where he could put up shots in order to increase his stock if he does eventually want to leave. So I think Brooklyn might be for him. And that's why he probably went. I don't know if you just said that.
Yeah,
But
Brooklyn has a good developmental coach too, which is why I like his chances.
yeah.
Like he's a good developmental coach. They just don't have draft picks to draft anybody to develop.
Yeah, they traded all those away.
And so then they have what the hell was I gonna say? He's a good developmental coach, and so is Quinn Snyder from Utah. Like those are two guys that are like notorious for taking young players and getting the most potential out of them, which is good. Which I think is a good location for any draft pick to go, and then especially a guy as young as D'Angelo Russell. So yeah, I kind of fuck with that trade.
All right, another trade that do want to talk about, because I want to get your take. I haven't really heard your take on it. Is the Chris Paul to the Rockets trade? Uh,
Um,
son,
yeah. So, God.
no, you go ahead, because I was going to ask you about it. I was going to give a little intro to it, but you're
Oh,
already.
so I like the idea of trying to get as many talented players on one team as possible to compete out in the West, because Harden can't do it by himself, and especially taking away like a guy like Lou Will who can come off the bench and score a lot. You lose Decker, you lose Beverly. They lost a lot of key role players on that team, which is the only thing that concerns me. The other thing that like I'm kind of teetering back and forth between is that Paul and Harden are both ball dominant players. Last year, the Rockets made it an effort to make Harden the point guard so that he would have the ball in his hands, and that's what Chris Paul do. So they're two very ball dominant players, and it's not the same as the Warriors where people were like, "Oh, there's four superstars and only one basketball. Like, who's gonna have their shots taken away?" It's not that Paul and Harden are gonna have their shots taken away. It's just that their production as a whole is gonna decrease because both of them their whole game is centered around having the ball in their hands. It's not like the Warriors where they can run off screens and catch and shoot.
Well, I would actually counter argue with they're both two very unselfish players in terms of setting up their teammates. I mean, Harden, Paul, I think both averaged double digit assist numbers last season. So I think it'll be more of a matter of who really takes that one spot, because they could share taking the ball up. Like, that's not a problem. If you need a
Hmm.
score, like if it's crunch time, you need a score, I'm having James Harden take the ball up, no doubt. But I'd say, like, for 70% of the game, you're going to have Chris Paul dish it off to somebody. And I think Harden's assist numbers will drop. His points, if he isn't just a bitch and gets fouled all the time, I mean, his points will probably stay about the same. But I think the Rockets are an overall better team because of it. I'm okay with them trading Patrick Beverly. I think trading Lou Will, was it Lou Will they traded, and
Yeah,
Sam
but they
Banger?
have Eric Gordon. They don't
Aaron
need
Gordon.
both of them.
Yeah, I know, but I think it's a little much. I think it's a lot for Chris Paul, especially at this age. I think they could have gotten away for a little
Um,
bit less, but I think it does put
yeah.
them in a better for short term success. I think it puts them in a better spot.
The only thing is, with both of them being unselfish players, I agree with you, but a lot of Harden's game is just putting himself in ISO situations, and he can beat you one on one, but he doesn't beat you one on one to the hoop because Harden's not that athletic. Like he's a good scorer and he's crafty, and that's how he gets open shots with his his step back move, for example. Like that's how he creates space for himself. But he's never gonna blow by you to the hoop. So when you have Chris Paul running your offense and you have to give the ball to James Harden and you put him in like a catch and shoot situation, it's kind of hard for him to come off a screen, catch a ball, and then go into an ISO situation. Like that's not an easy thing to ask for somebody, which is why it was a lot better for him last year when he could just bring the ball up and he could control whether if he tries an ISO situation and it doesn't work, then he can dish it off. Like I don't think that production is going to be the same for Harden. I think it'll be more like the Harden of 2 years ago.
Yeah. I agree. But another thing is, the reason they did this move, and we all know why, it's because they want to compete with the Warriors. It's what the entire
They
NBA is
have to.
scrambling
They
to
have to
do.
compete with the Warriors.
Steph Curry has kind of owned Chris Paul in his career, more or less. Um,
I
so
see what you're saying.
I don't know how much it'll help them beat the Warriors, but I think they could give them a run for it. Maybe they'll beat them in a playoff game. I don't think they'll beat them in a series because Chris
Hmm.
Paul's his knees can't be in full. They can't be all there. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
yeah, he's not in his early 20s anymore.
yeah, they're a couple years away from turning to dust. Is what I'm trying to say. How old is Chris Paul?
Mm.
I'm actually gonna look that up.
Um, I have it right here. I think.
There's no way I have it.
Yeah, Chris Paul is 30. Oh wait, no, it doesn't say. I believe he's like 32.
He's 32. Yep.
Yeah. So
I don't know if anyway.
I don't think that's that old for the style of play that Chris Paul has because he's not like Russell Westbrook where he just like runs up and down the court, just uses his athleticism, is explosive. Like Chris Paul's more of like a cool, calm, collected kind of point guard. Like,
Yeah, he lets the game come to him. I like that.
yeah, he did. Chris Paul doesn't really, uh, force situations. And I mean, at 32, you'd expect him to lose a step at this point, but he really hasn't. So
Yeah, that's true.
I feel like that's of note.
Ball too much. Anyway,
And so then, I think what we wanted to do was just kind of go through the NBA free agency list and give top 3 locations for each. I feel like that's reasonable.
I feel
Like, where do you
that's
think the 3 best suitors for?
It's an extremely reasonable proposal. So I'm ready.
So we'll skip Kevin Durant because
He's going to Golden State, and we don't.
I
Really
don't. I don't think he's going to go anywhere besides Golden State. And then there's Steph Curry, who re-signed last night, so that's not a big deal. And so then that brings us to Gordon Hayward. And I think that regardless of the order you think they go in, I think your top 3 is Utah, Boston, and Miami. Those are the only 3 places. Those are the only 3 places he's even visiting. So you'd have to wait for like a dark horse to pop up.
Yeah, I mean, unless somebody comes out of the shadows and tries to pick up Gordon Hayward and bites on it. But I don't think
so. Out of those 3, which do you think is the most likely?
Well, fingers crossed he comes to Boston. I mean, we need him, but
yeah, I would like him to come to Boston, but I still would say Utah.
I say Miami. I say he's going to Miami.
I think he, for whatever reason, he's one of the only people on this earth that you can point out right now who legitimately likes living in Salt Lake City. So,
yeah, well,
I would say that he's what?
My sources are telling me, I have very very good insider sources that his wife actually likes Miami the best, like the area. What she likes about it, I don't know. Probably the warm weather, the palm trees, the beaches, but
I think
my sources say, and you know what they say: happy wife, happy life. So
yeah, well, you can always get divorced.
He's going to Miami for that sole purpose. He's caught between the 3, and his wife's like, "Listen, we're kicking our feet up, drinking margaritas on the beach," and he said, "All right, honey," and he's going there because that's the type of guy he is. Plus, he went on the radio, and he's from Indianapolis, big Colts fan, big Peyton Manning guy. Hates Tom Brady. So I don't know how you can play a sport in Boston and hate Tom Brady. I think he'll get booed in the Garden whenever he goes. So,
well, he got an extremely loud applause when he played at the Garden this year. So,
well, that was before he said he hated Tom Brady. He wasn't very vocal about it. I mean, Tom Brady's kind of America's quarterback, and he doesn't like him, and for good reason.
We'll see. But I think he's staying to Utah. I think it would probably go Utah.
I think Celtics have to move to last on this list. They didn't do anything in the offseason, which is another thing we should talk about.
What Miami do? What Miami do in the offseason?
Miami didn't do anything, but he was only going to go to Boston because they were a championship contender. If they could make other moves, he would go to Miami to try to help build the team around him and go back to the Jazz because for some reason he has to stay loyal to
wherever no matter which one of those 3 teams he goes to, he's the guy. Like he's the guy.
I would say that if he went to Boston, I still think the guy's Isaiah Thomas. I'd say
it'd be Gordon Hayward.
I would say no. I'm saying the guy. Like I don't know if Gordon Hayward's that much of a superstar yet. I mean, he's a superstar.
I don't think Isaiah Thomas is that much of a superstar. He's a scorer.
I don't think he is either. But after what he did for us last season, I think we can't just kick him to the curb. I think that's
we're not. I think Gordon Hayward's the guy though.
All right.
Okay. In Golden State right now, would you say Kevin Durant is the guy?
Yeah, I would.
Okay, so then does Steph Curry winning 2 MVPs before that mean nothing after what he's done for Golden State?
Okay, then let me say this. I think that the face of the Celtics, it would still be Isaiah Thomas.
It would be
Gordon
I think
Hayward. That is the face of the is the face of the Warriors Kevin Durant?
Yeah.
I would say that Steph Curry is the face of the Warriors. And Kevin Durant is the guy.
I would say after Kevin Durant in the finals, it's Kevin Durant.
It's two different arguments. It's 2 different things. The face of the franchise is like you say Golden State Warriors, that's the first person that pops in your head. I say it's still Steph Curry after all he's done. I think Isaiah Thomas is in that same right in Boston. I think if you bring Gordon Hayward becomes the guy, but he isn't the face of the franchise.
I think it becomes both. The
I
other
think
thing
that's
is though,
I
his
think that's a
what
nice fat bologna sandwich, Sean. That's
before
what
we
I
went
think.
down this road, what I was thinking about was Gordon Hayward's a big George Hill guy in Utah. Like he enjoyed playing alongside George Hill,
I
and
mean, George Hill used to be a baller.
by trading for Ricky Rubio, they kind of just said, "Go ahead, George Hill, go fuck yourself, get out of here. We don't want you."
Yeah.
So now that probably won't resonate well with Gordon Hayward in terms of an argument for why he would potentially not return to Utah. And then the argument that he played for Brad Stevens, I think, is a little bit overhyped because
Yeah,
he's
it's way
played
over.
way more games for Quinn Snyder in Utah. Way more
Yeah,
games.
like way more.
Like way more. Like a ridiculous
Like
amount
an
more.
oodles amount, like a lot more. All right.
And then moving on, Blake Griffin already signed.
Yeah, that was huge.
Um, Chris Paul
Big
to
contract.
Chris Paul to Houston, and then this will be a good one. Kyle Lowry.
I think his top three options. I think he's gonna. I think his top three is gonna go 76ers,
Okay.
Minnesota Timberwolves,
Okay.
back to Toronto. I think DeMar DeRozan, as much as he doesn't talk to him, he might just throw
hmm
him on back. But
So, go ahead.
no, that's. I was just gonna.
Oh, okay. Because the Timberwolves, I would say that the Timberwolves would be on that list, but they signed Jeff Teague yesterday, so that's a lot of
Whoa,
money to.
the Timberwolves signed Jeff Teague.
Yeah,
Didn't know that.
that's a lot of money
I
to
should have
put.
done my homework before I came on today. Is what
It's a
I'm
lot of
realizing.
money to put into your point guard position. So I'm gonna say Toronto,
Mm-hmm.
San Antonio,
That's a hot take. Go ahead.
Toronto, San Antonio, and
Trust the
the
process,
Clippers.
Sean.
The Clippers.
You got to trust the process. Are you not trusting the? Do you not have faith in the process, Sean?
I just don't think. I think that it would be a good fit. I just don't think Kyle Lowry would go there. Like I just think that those other three are probably more likely for Kyle Lowry. I do think that he's probably going to go. If you ask me to pick one of those teams out of three I just named, I'm gonna say San Antonio.
I'm gonna say that's a hot take. I don't know if he's
Actually,
gonna go.
actually, I
He's
may
not-
not say San Antonio because they gave Patty Mills a lot of money yesterday.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I see. I knew that popped up on my phone. ESPN alerts. Those are a game changer. But yeah,
You can follow Woj on Twitter.
you follow what?
Woj, Adrian Wojnarowski.
Oh yeah. I got different guys.
That's
for
the guy to
different
follow.
clubs. Yeah. All right. I think of the three, I think he's going to the Timberwolves still. I don't know if I mean I don't know about Jeff Teague.
That's a
Jeff
lot
Teague,
of money to put into your point guard position.
it is, but it's also who else do they have now?
Jeff Teague.
And they used to have
Why do they
Rubio, they
need?
used to have Dunn. They
They
need a
have they have
backup.
They have Tyus Jones who played just as much as Chris Dunn did.
Tyus Jones belongs in the D League.
No, he doesn't. Not according to the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Well, the Minnesota Timberwolves are just a bunch of idiots with good players on their team now because they got
And I saw today that they want to go after Paul Millsap. So you cannot
that's
get
so
Jeff
scary.
Paul
That's
Millsap
so
and
scary,
Kyle
bro.
Lowry.
The Minnesota Timberwolves could be the next Warriors if they could get Paul Millsap. Imagine the lineup: Jeff Teague.
But they
Jeff
can't pay all of them.
Yeah, but
But
gonna
what,
have
bro?
to.
Money
I think they're gonna have to.
exists.
Sean, they wouldn't be looking at a guy they can't pay. That's all I'm gonna say. Why would you chop above your budget? You're not gonna go in debt. You can't go.
I don't think they're looking at Kyle Lowry though. I don't think they're looking at him.
I'm saying even if they don't look at Kyle Lowry, they got their starting lineup could be the next Warriors. If what you're telling me is true, if your sources are correct, there's someone behind you. All right. Anyway,
Yeah, I know.
hi Donna. Shout out to Donna.
So I thought it was good. I thought San Antonio would be a good fit until they signed Patty Mills. So then, you can kind of just get rid of that. But that's a good transition into where do you think Paul Millsap would go?
I hope the Timberwolves now. Holy shit. Paul Millsap.
That'd be kind of lit. That'd be high key lit.
Towns, Andrew Wiggins, Jimmy Butler, and Jeff Teague. That's nuts.
Yeah, that's lit.
That is lit.
I would say Houston, Minnesota, and Philly for Paul Millsap. Those would be my locations. I don't think he's going back to Atlanta.
Houston. Houston's interesting too because that could make them a dynasty. Paul Millsap's, I don't know. Paul Millsap's free agency might be the missing puzzle piece for a lot of these
For a
franchises.
few teams, yeah.
Yeah,
Houston would be like a really like well, he gives them a big man because they only have Ryan Anderson right down there, and he's soft, but he'd be good off the bench,
Ryan Anderson's a bitch.
basically.
Yeah.
So then
What about
Drew Holiday signed. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
He's signed with the Pelicans. I was just
Yeah,
gonna
he's
say
good. He's gone.
there's a lot of teams that could use
He
a
made
lot of improvement.
bank. Low key, Drew Holiday made bank.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. And I think he wants to stay in New Orleans too. Like, I don't think it was kind
I
of.
do too. And that was a necessary re-sign for the Pelicans because if they lose him, they have nobody. They have
no
nobody.
front court. Yeah, they have nothing. Anyway,
They have no guards. They have no guard play.
Yep. Yeah, I'm saying there's a lot of teams in the NBA that nobody's talking about that aren't making any free agent moves that could use some talent. Thoughts on why we don't hear about teams like the Orlando Magic making deals, or I don't think the Mavericks did anything, or
Paul Millsap actually has interest in Orlando. I read that like a long time ago, but I just don't think he's going to go there.
Yeah, I don't either. But like these teams aren't making big moves. Do they not have big money, or am I missing something, or why aren't they? Why is
No?
some of these teams?
Chances are they have a lot of cap space, but they're at the point where they could try to sign all these guys, but they don't really have anything attractive to offer a free agent besides the money. And so if they want something besides the money, they're gonna have to look elsewhere. Otherwise, teams like Orlando, Phoenix, which Blake Griffin, I guess, supposedly had interest in Phoenix, and that would have been lit. Devin Booker, Josh Jackson, and Blake Griffin, bro. That 2K team would be fun.
Oh, I was just thinking about that actually yesterday. Let's talk about and now, like right now, that the trade deadline is I don't know. Who's your favorite 2K18? Who are you picking? Your 2K team. You're playing your boy. $5 on the line. $10 on the line. Let's put $100 on the line.
I gotta see how free agency pans out. Pans out.
Right now, I'm saying right now, and anybody who's a free agent is back on their original team.
If I was playing for that much money, I would obviously pick Golden State.
Okay, but don't, because Golden State's cheating. It's cheating. If you've never played 2K before, then you wouldn't know. But if you pick Golden State, it's an automatic L. You lost. Like, even if you pick Cleveland, kind of a loss. You got to pick somebody fun. New team, who you pick?
I don't know. I want to see how the rest of the free agency pans out before I pick somebody in 2K18. You know, it'd be so confusing. You know, it'd be so confusing.
What?
If Kyrie Irving gets traded and they've already pumped out tons of covers with him on the Cavs.
That'd be funny. But then they have the Shaq edition, right? Don't they have the Shaq edition?
Yeah, but you have to spend big bucks on the Shaq edition, and if you're just a generic 2K player just going out there to cop the game, you can have Kyrie Irving on the Cavs while he's like fucking balling up for the Nuggets.
Yeah, but all right, that's a rogue take, but
it was just an example,
All right, but my thing is like if you don't want a shitty 2K cover, then you buy the one with Shaq on it. Like after LeVar Ball, like we got to be real big ballers now. Okay, we can't be spending.
We can't be fake big ballers.
Sports games. No, we can't be small ballers. We can't be medium-sized ballers. We have to be big ballers now. All right, we have to live up to LeVar's standards.
Did you see his post-draft interview when Lonzo got drafted?
Yeah, he just said the Lakers are going to the playoffs, but my thing is, let's talk about LeVar Ball a little bit because I like this topic. I really do. I'm a big ball guy. All right, no homo.
You're a big baller guy.
LeVar, he says all these outrageous things. People get on him for saying, "Oh, this and that and that and this and blah blah blah." But I can't name a scenario where he's been wrong. Other than the hypotheticals, you can't judge. I don't think he's been wrong once.
I guess, yeah. I think that LeVar Ball is just like his whole life has wanted to be in the spotlight. Has 3 kids who are nasty at basketball and is taking advantage of that while also promoting a brand, and he's smart for that. because he's making his family money while he's doing everything that he wanted to do just through his kids.
Yeah, I think he's really owning it too. Like I think at first it was just kind of who he is, but now he's kind of really owning it. Like he's
Yeah.
owning being
He,
LeVar
oh, he's
Ball.
taking it to a next level.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and did you see him on Monday Night Raw last week?
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
Yeah, that might have been the best thing to ever come on and get broadcasted on a television. Like I'm
Bro, when he
truly a
bro
firm believer that LeVar Ball television is must-watch TV, even if he's reading like The Death of a Salesman on an audiobook. I gotta turn it on.
I do agree that whenever you have the opportunity to watch um LeVar Ball on TV, you have to watch it just because there's the chance that something absolutely ridiculous could come out of his mouth.
Oh, 100%.
So back to free agents now. Aside from LeVar Ball showing his man boobs on Monday
No,
Night Raw,
actually, low key, he was looking good. He keeps himself in shape. He
he
keeps
looks in
himself
shape.
in shape. Yeah, he looks like he's in shape.
Uh,
Yeah.
so now we're gonna do Danilo Gallinari. Where do you think Danilo Gallinari would go?
I don't think he's going back to the Nuggets. I'll tell you that.
No,
I
I
think,
don't think so either. I think that Danilo Gallinari is like the perfect like backup option for your team.
yeah, like if all else
Like the teams
fails,
that miss out on their big guys, that
Celtics.
I think yes. So I think the top three landing locations for Danilo Gallinari would be the Clippers, the Heat, and the Celtics. So
Yeah. Maybe not the Clippers. Actually, probably the Clippers. But I think there's better fits for him
they
than the
need a small
Clippers.
forward.
Yeah, they do. But I think there's better fits for him than the Clippers. The Clippers really need a guard after giving up Chris Paul. Actually, they don't because they need a small forward. I don't know what I'm talking about. ADD, Sean. It's a killer. It's a killer.
And so then now we have Serge Ibaka. What do you think about Serge Ibaka?
I think Serge Ibaka is big. I think he's tall. I think he's good at blocking, rebounding, and I
And I
think he's
think
going
he's
back
from
to
the
the
Congo.
Raptors. Yeah,
He's
I,
he's from Africa. I don't know where though.
yeah, I'm gonna look that up. But while I'm looking that up, I'm gonna go on record and saying that he's back in black with the with Toronto. He's back to the six.
I don't know
Yeah,
where Serge
he's
Ibaka
from.
would go. I think he's just I think he's just kind of. I think Toronto's a decent like return location. Sleeper team on Serge Ibaka that I just thought about the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah, it's a good call.
I would like
Except
that
you didn't
fit.
think about it because I said the Dallas Mavericks earlier, like maybe 5 minutes ago. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't
I'll
recall
all
that, Dan.
right. Well, we can check the tape. It's all being recorded.
So moving on from Serge Ibaka, who's next on this list? Pau Gasol probably staying with San Antonio.
Yeah.
Dwayne Wade already back to Chicago. George Hill, dude, George Hill. Where do you think George Hill's going to go, Dan? A lot of these teams, I thought San Antonio until they signed Patty Mills for that much money because I know they
Yeah.
don't have a lot of cap space.
Well, Patty Mills kind of like grew a set and played well in the playoffs. In lieu of Tony Parker's absence. I mean, he's a solid guy. He's a good point guard to have. He's really scrappy. He's really quick, and he sets up teammates well. He can also shoot the three ball at a decent rate.
Yeah, you
I
just
think
give him
they're making
12
the
and a
right
half
decision.
million. You give him 12 and a half million to be a backup, though. That's like my only concern.
I don't think
They're
he
not
will be
going
a
to
back. He's going to start. Tony Parker
Tony
again?
Parker. They won't bench Tony Parker.
All
They
right,
wouldn't.
maybe.
So George Hill. Give me the Knicks.
Wow. Okay.
The Knicks definitely right now. That's like the first team that pops in my head.
Yeah, that's actually the only team that popped in my head, but
I'll take the Knicks and well, I would say New Orleans, but they got Drew Holiday back, so they don't particularly need a point guard anymore. But I was just thinking in terms of like helping the front court out. Do you got any thoughts on George Hill besides the Knicks, or are we just kind of agreeing on the Knicks?
I don't know. In another team that popped in my head might be the Kings. They need a lot of work. Sacramento.
Yeah, but they have Fox. I think they'd rather just build with Fox.
Yeah.
You know, and they drafted 2 point guards.
Yeah, but the Knicks drafted Frank Ntilikina.
Yeah, but I don't think he's as polished as Fox
Markel Fultz.
or no Mason. They took Mason in the second round. Frank Mason
Oh,
from
they took Frank.
Kansas.
Oh, yeah, they did. Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I guess I guess Denver. Denver was like the second team that popped in my head.
Hmm. That's good.
Just
Good
because I don't
class.
think Emmanuel Mudiay is as good as they thought he was.
What
So
about
then out of,
Milwaukee?
no, because they probably just run Brogdon at the point.
Brogdon's more of a two guard in my mind, though.
Well, he ran point for them this year because he's good. They need him out on the floor. Like I feel like he's better than a sixth man, so they run him at the point so they can still use Middleton at the two.
Yeah.
Even though Giannis kind of brings the ball up, which is
Yeah.
good because that doesn't really make Brogdon the point guard.
Okay.
And so then your boy Greg Monroe, I think he stayed with Milwaukee, but
I don't know. Actually, I didn't hear about my boy Greg Monroe.
so we'll move on from that one. But I don't think he's gonna leave because he has a player option and there's a lot of money to be had there. And last year he was made a bench player in favor of Thon Maker, so I think the opportunity there to make that much more money and just like just he's not going to get that money on the open market. So if Milwaukee's going to give it to him, he should just stay. That's how I view it.
Okay.
And then there's Otto Porter, who the Wizards said they're going to match pretty much every offer that gets thrown his way, even if
I
it's
think
something absolutely outlandish.
I think he's
You
going
know, it'd
back
be a
to
good
Milwaukee.
idea actually.
What would be
You
a
know,
good idea, Sean? I'd love to hear it.
if Brooklyn just threw a max contract at Otto Porter. If they're like here, max, because they can afford it, so they just throw a max contract at Otto Porter, and then Washington, like I don't think can afford to match that. Because they would have so much money tied up in Wall, Beal, and Otto Porter.
Yeah, but is
That's a
Otto Porter
lot
worth it?
of money.
Yeah, but is
That's a
Otto
lot
Porter
of money.
worth a max contract for the Nets?
But if you're Brooklyn, you can do it.
You can, but you've already screwed up your franchise enough. You might as well not try to do something stupid, in my opinion. Like throw a max contract at a guy who's maybe is like
So
middle of the pack type of talent.
so here's how I view it. Right? Do you think the Nets would win? Do you think the Nets would be in the playoffs in the next 4 years? If they don't get Otto Porter, do you think they make the playoffs in the next 4 years?
They already traded away their 2019 draft picks.
They already traded away their 2018.
Yeah, no.
Okay, so the worst thing that happens is you give Otto Porter a contract and you just let him play out his contract in Brooklyn, and then you try again when he leaves with somebody else.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do something to jumpstart that franchise, you can't just sit there and tank every year.
But I just don't think Otto Porter's the answer.
No, I don't either. But I'm just saying, like they could throw a max at a guy like Contavious Caldwell Pope too, and see if the Pistons match it. Like they can afford that.
Yeah, that's true.
They can pull off a move like that.
Yeah. I just
And
don't think
so
anybody's
then
trying to go to Brooklyn.
I know. And then so Jeff Teague already signed. Andre Iguodala. This is an interesting one. Do you think? What are you thinking?
I think he goes back to the Warriors. I don't think anybody on the Warriors really wants to leave them.
I think there's three options for him. I think it's the Rockets, the Spurs, and the Warriors.
Yeah.
Andre Iguodala.
Yeah. He's trying to get money while he can. He's also trying to win. Those are three contenders who can offer him the most money.
He's a solid bench player.
Yeah, he is. He used to be like all-star material, and now he's just old and cold and filled with mold.
JJ Redick. What are your thoughts on JJ Redick?
Oh man, JJ Redick, a shooter in a shooters league. I don't know. I kind of like the Heat, but you got Deion Waiters over there.
Well, he's a free agent, so
Yeah,
he's gonna. Where do you think Deion Waiters ends up? Because he can probably command like $20 million a year, which is scary.
yeah. I don't know. Depends on where Hayward goes. I think a lot of these free agencies depend on where other people go. People want
Right,
to win.
because a lot of the guys are getting into now are like backup options. Like
Yep,
if you don't get
exactly.
your top guy, you go for this guy.
Yeah.
JJ Redick would be an interesting fit with the Lakers. I don't know what your thoughts are on
That's
that.
true. I think it's
That'd be
interesting. I think it's an interesting thought. I think the Lakers are a guard-heavy team already.
I know. This is true, but Rudy Gay. What are your thoughts on Rudy Gay? We'll do two more. Let's do
Uh,
Rudy Gay.
I like Rudy Gay. I really do like Rudy Gay. I couldn't tell you the first thing about where I
He
think he's
definitely
going.
doesn't go to Sacramento. Definitely
No,
doesn't go to Sacramento.
I know he's not going back to Sacramento, so I really don't even have an option for him. I mean, teams that are small forward.
He's like a Gallinari guy.
Yeah, he's teams that are in need of a small forward could probably use him. Even a power forward, I think he probably play the four. He could be a stretch four.
You see that the Warriors, if they lose Iguodala, like have Rudy Gay as a backup option. Like I feel like Rudy Gay is better than Andre Iguodala.
Rudy Gay, I think, is a lot better than Andre Iguodala, especially because he's younger.
I just don't know how the Warriors can afford to pay all these people.
Well,
I'm confused.
I think Steve Kerr is printing money in the locker room, and
Mhm.
that's why there's inflation. It's all the NBA's fault. So we're going to blame the NBA for our failing economy here in the United States.
But specifically Steve Kerr.
Yeah, Steve Kerr and the Warriors are doing it, guys. Interest rates, boom. Inflation rates,
And then
boom.
we'll close it off with Derrick Rose. Where do you think Derrick Rose ends up?
D Rose, knee Rose with the free throws. I don't know.
I don't know. I think he'll get a job. I just don't know.
I just don't know.
I think he likes.
Could Colin Kaepernick have the skill level but not have the fit?
The Knicks would be a good fit, but I don't think that Derrick Rose wants to take less money to play there. That's like my Derrick Rose. I guess he's just another one of those guys. Like if you miss out on George Hill or another top point guard or another point guard that you're high on, then you could go.
D Rose used to be like where Russell Westbrook is now, almost like in 2008, and now he's become a backup option. Life come at you quick, D Rose. Life comes at you quick. But
so if he could stay healthy, if he stayed healthy, he's probably gonna be one of the only. Actually, he might be the only MVP that I don't think will get into the Hall of Fame.
Has every other MVP gotten into the Hall of Fame?
I think so.
Yeah, I would agree. I would definitely agree.
Yep. So then the other thing we're going to talk about is the MLB All-Star Game, but I'm thinking we probably should just save that until we get the final vote.
Lineups. Yeah, everything in. All right. What else can we talk about? I want to do like a little one closing thought. I just don't know what to do about.
Hit me with a closing thought, then.
Closing thoughts. It's like late night.
Let's do NBA team that makes the biggest improvement this season.
The Minnesota Timberwolves. It's not even a contest. The Timberwolves could go to the Western Conference Finals.
NBA team that takes the biggest step back.
I don't know. Maybe.
I say the Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah, actually, you know what? The Hawks are.
If they don't get Paul Millsap, that's really deflating to their franchise.
Definitely.
Player.
Right, Sean, I got one for you.
Yeah.
Wolverine or Dr. Horrible?
Wow. I'll take Wolverine minus 150.
Yeah. You thought your having swallowed the fragment would hide it from me? He thought. That's all I got to say about it. I don't know why.
What about
comic books here? I don't even look like
NBA player who changes teams and makes the biggest impact.
Oh wow, Paul George. I think Paul George make a huge impact in Oklahoma City. I think that Russell Westbrook needs he's not going to be he's not going to have another average triple-double season. I still think he'll have a very, very elite rate of productivity, and I think Paul George is the best compliment that on the market that he would have gotten. So I think the Thunder probably bumped themselves up to a 3 seed. I think in the Western Conference you're going to have the Spurs fall to a 4, and have Warriors, Rockets, Thunder, Spurs, T-Wolves. I'm forgetting somebody.
You're still competitive.
Yeah, Jazz are probably still competitive, but I see him 7 or 8 seed, probably get knocked out in the first round. The Bulls too. The Bulls might take a little step back without Jimmy Butler. Plus, I don't think they're re-signing
And
Rondo, or they didn't
they
sign.
already let him go. They cut him.
Yep,
I think
cut
that the
Rondo.
free agent that makes the biggest impact is Paul Millsap because he's not going to be your number one guy on a team, but if he goes to the right team where he can be like a compliment, he's definitely an upgrade for a lot of teams that need just that extra guy. So I would say, depending upon where he goes, Paul Millsap probably can make the biggest impact on a team's overall success. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And then to close it off on July 1st, Dan, we're going to make early rookie of the year pick. Ready, go.
Aaron Judge. Does it even wait? Aaron Judge for the AL, and I'm giving
What?
Cody Bellinger
No,
for the NL.
no, I'm talking about the NBA, bro. I'm talking about the NBA still.
There you are.
Yeah. I think
Oh,
that rookie of the year is pretty much rookie of the year in the MLB is pretty much all set.
yeah, that's pretty much a lock. What
That's a
about?
wrap.
Okay, so we're going early rookie of the year from this draft class. We're going.
So I'm going to take Ben Simmons.
Oh, I'm not. I'm gonna take my boy Jonathan Isaac.
Yeah.
I think the rookie of the year usually doesn't come from like a great organization, and typically, I mean, unless it's an absolute superstar, which I don't really see anybody being an absolute superstar from this draft off the bat. But I think Jonathan Isaac on the Magic is going to be a big, big, big thing. I think he'll start right off the bat, average double-double. This is my bold prediction for my boy. I've talked to him personally. He said he's ready. I called him up on the phone. Me and him, we're pretty close. So that's what I think. I'm going to stick with it.
All right, fair enough. Before we end this,
What happened?
you got any closing thoughts before I end this live stream?
Sure. Closing thoughts. My wrist is out of place. I need to get it checked. It's been out of place for about a week. I didn't think anything was wrong with it. I thought I just kind of, I thought it was just a strain, and I just iced it down. But it's really jutting out. I don't know if you can see that, but that's not really. I don't think that's normal. Look at my other wrist; it doesn't really do that same thing. So
Yeah.
it looks like
Yeah.
I tried to. All right.
That way.
Also tried to pop it back in last night. Now it hurts more. So go to a doctor. But I don't really want to pay a doctor to pop my wrist back in. Like, if it's just out of place, if I don't have to get, like, a splint or anything, like, I already know what's wrong with it. Why would I pay you to tell me?
Fair enough. Prayers for Dan. We'll see you next time.
All right. See you later.